This planet is threatened with destruction, and we who live in it with death. The heavens reek, the waters below are foul, children die in infancy, and we and the world, which is our home, live on the brink of nuclear annihilation. We are in a crisis of survival.
This is a CBS News special, Earth Day, a question of survival, with CBS News correspondent Walter Cronkite.
Good evening. A unique day in American history is ending, a day set aside for a nationwide outpouring of mankind seeking its own survival. Earth Day, a day dedicated to enlisting all the citizens of a bountiful country in the common cause of saving life from the deadly byproducts of that bounty, the fouled skies, the filthy waters, the littered earth. As a demonstration, its success was mixed, beyond expectations here, far below there. No one now can know exactly how many took part. We do have an idea how many planned participation: student groups in 2,000 colleges and 10,000 lower schools, citizen groups in 2,000 communities. By one measurement, Earth Day failed. It did not unite. It did attract that broad cross-section of America its sponsors wanted, not quite. Its demonstrators were predominantly young, predominantly white, predominantly anti-Nixon. Often its protests appeared frivolous, its protesters curiously carefree. Yet the gravity of the message of Earth Day still came through. Act or die. We begin our report with Bruce Morton in Denver.
Place for Purple Mountain's majesty. A place where on a clear day, the legend says, you could see forever. The clear days are fewer now. And instead of forever, the view often stops with haze. Next to Los Angeles, Denver has the best climate in the country for producing smog. In this unlikely seeming place, the air is threatened. Earth Day is a focus for efforts to save it.
Bicycles at the state capitol were a Denver symbol. Auto pollution is a major problem here in the country's 17th most polluted city, so high schoolers pedal to show there's another way to travel. The altitude increases car engines' pollution output. It doesn't do a thing to bikes. Somebody in the cheerful, disorganized crowd said, let's clean up, and the several hundred young people did, scouring the Capitol grounds for litter. Cleanups like this went on in many parts of Denver today. Somebody got a wastebasket from the Capitol and said it must be the only one, but there were enough paper bags to go around. Then they left for the teach-in, bikers on bikes, but hundreds of others traveling on foot. Some sang, some shouted, all seemed to enjoy the day. High schools were not closed, but many announced absences would be excused. Corrigan Plaza, the hall, was arranged to seat 6,000, though some planners predicted a half-full house. In fact, it was better than that. Lots of coming and going, but about 5,000 seats filled. Most were young, but not all. Most were white, but not all. A group who'd bicycled across the state gave Governor John Love a declaration supporting a cleaner planet, and the governor signed it. The crowd heard calls for revolution, calls for working within the system. Earth Day's founder and co-sponsor, Senator Gaylord Nelson, offered a more specific plan.
We elect an ecology Congress as the 92nd Congress, a Congress that will build bridges between our citizens and between men and nature's systems, instead of building more highways and dams and new weapon systems that escalate the arms race. Environment is all of America and its problems. It's the rats in the ghetto. It's a hungry child in a land of affluence. It is housing that's not worthy the name and neighborhoods not fit to inhabit. Environment is a problem perpetuated by expenditures of tens of billions of dollars a year on the Vietnam War instead of on our decaying, crowded, congested, polluted urban areas that are inhuman traps for millions of people. If our cities don't work, America won't work. And the battle to save them and end the divisiveness that still splits the country won't be won in Vietnam.
How do we stop the world from spiralling into climate breakdown? We've left it too late to rely only on greening our economies, as well as reducing greenhouse gases to zero. Stopping drastic levels of global heating means we also need to draw carbon dioxide out of the air. But how? Exotic and often dangerous schemes have been proposed, but there's a better and simpler way. Let nature do it for us. When living systems are allowed to recover, they can suck carbon out of the air and lock it up. As forests grow, they turn carbon dioxide into wood. Mangrove swamps and salt marshes build up carbon 40 times faster than forests do. Wet soils like peat turn dead plants into stable carbon stores. The seabed is a massive carbon hoard. It needs protection from trawlers and dredgers. And bringing back wild animals can be amazingly powerful. Wolves lock up carbon dioxide by controlling the animals that eat trees. White rhinos stop big wildfires from forming by preventing dry grass from accumulating. By eating crabs and snails, predatory fish preserve the plants that hold salt marshes together. Nature is our ally in defending ourselves from climate breakdown. A better world for wildlife is a better world for people.
Hello, I'm Paula Caballero, Managing Director of Climate and Water for Air. Thanks for joining us in Kyoto or remotely from your computers, tablets, and phones. 22 years ago, the Kyoto Protocol was signed, marking an important milestone in our global effort to reduce greenhouse gases. And although there have been progress on some fronts, the fact is that overall trends are daunting. The IPCC's special 1.5 report released last October was a dire warning of the consequences that await if we do not catalyze climate action. Take agriculture. Rural communities around the world whose livelihoods depend on agriculture are particularly vulnerable to climate change. And yet at the same time, it is human activity, including unsustainable farming and land use practices, that are driving it. Given that human behavior is behind most environmental challenges, our growing understanding of human behavior and decision-making is key to driving effective solutions. Today, Environmental's toolkit relies mostly on regulations, taxes and fines, and awareness campaigns. This toolkit isn't wrong, but it's incomplete. Where we're not homo economicus, always making decisions based on logic and reason. We're often irrational, making decisions based on emotions and social norms and the context in which choices are presented. If we're going to solve a human problem, we need a new, more human-centric approach. At RARE, we're taking the latest research and insights from behavioral science and expanding the Environmentalist Toolkit. We're harnessing our understanding of what really motivates people to adopt sustainable behaviors. We're adapting design thinking approaches to remove barriers and to make these behaviors easier to adopt. We also know that the change is more likely to last if solutions are community-led. That puts them at the heart of our approach. We also need to nurture leadership and to develop core resources that align behavior with sustainable practices so that we build to the scale that we know is needed. Behavior change is not about talking louder. It is about listening. Sometimes that means departing from our own language of climate and conservation goals. For farmers, climate change is essentially an economic problem. Or it means stepping back and empowering farmers to be their own agents of change. To meet the challenge, we must change faster than climate. We look forward to working with the Global Landscapes Forum and partners around the world to change the way we interact with nature to ensure its survival as well as our own. And we appreciate the opportunity to engage online, sparing me at least one transatlantic flight. A welcome opportunity for change and to practice what we preach. As we say, ever onwards. Thank you.
The data that we are getting from our research as well as Hindu Kush Himalayan Monitoring and Assessment program clearly shows that this region is already facing more climate change.
So global change and global warming is going to impact that area very, very severely.
The Himalayas are one of the amazing places in the world. Unique cultures, wonderful people, startling, striking ecosystems and landscapes, and a big challenge of economic development.
Gives us now a kind of state-of-the-art information on the region with a very clear climate change lens.
This might be the beginning of a process of uniting the countries of the Hindu Kush Himalayas around what the science says needs to happen.
If we do not have a real-time common understanding and common shared value and for our common problem, the risk will be higher in the future that we cannot easily address that one.
The evidence is clear. We have to act now. The report provides important insights on what we can do as communities, as nations, as a region, and at the global stage to protect this important global asset.
Welcome to the Global Landscape Forum. Until now, 240 million hectares of natural forests have been lost, mostly during the last 3 decades, and continue to be lost at a current rate of about 6 million hectares per year. Meanwhile, population and consumption growth is expected to triple the demand for wood products by 2050. In this context, forest landscape restoration is critical to increase forest area and it's also a key element in all pathways mapped by IPCC to achieve a 1.5 Celsius degree scenario. The Paris Agreement on Climate Change calls for efforts to enhance carbon sinks, and locking up carbon in forests is the most effective strategy available to do so. Compared to other climate change mitigation measures, forest landscape restoration can result in numerous social, ecological, and economic co-benefits. We understand forest landscape restoration as a planned process that aims to regain ecological functionality and enhance human well-being in deforested or degraded forest landscape. Today, WWF Global Forest Strategy aims to effectively protect or improve forest management practice, halt deforestation, and restore 350 million hectares of degraded forest and landscape by 2030, in line with the targets of the New York Declaration on Forests and the Bonn Challenge. We are part of this path for change. Make sure that we are also part of it.
Hello, my name is Terry Sunderland and welcome to the Global Landscapes Forum. I am a professor at University of British Columbia here in Vancouver, Canada, and also a senior associate with CIFOR. I'd just like to welcome you to the GLF 2019 Kyoto and explain a little bit about the work that we're going to be showcasing during the event. I work specifically on the interactions between the theory and the practice of landscape approaches and how we can actually implement and operationalize the landscape approach. And with funding from the German government, we now have a new 5-year project to start looking at those implementation schemes and how they play out on the ground, looking at the institutional governance and other arrangements needed to mitigate trade-offs between partners and stakeholders, getting stakeholders to talk to each other, and take things forward in terms of taking the rhetoric of the landscape approach that's been prevalent in the GLF for the last 5 or 6 years into a much more practical implementation phase. So I'm going to be involved in 2 different initiatives as part of this, the GLF. I'm going to be involved in Act 1, whereby I'll be playing the role of a landscape specialist, and I'll be answering your questions and queries related to how we implement the landscape approach and what it's mean for climate change, biodiversity, conservation and economic development. And I'm very much looking forward to that interaction and working with you all on developing some of these new approaches and again translating that rhetoric that has been prevalent in many of the global fora and the sort of development lexicon for the last 5 or 6 years into what it actually means on the ground. And I'm very much looking forward to that. The second event I'm going to be involved in is Act 3 of the Global Landscapes Forum, and I'll be hosting a discussion forum here at UBC, at University of British Columbia, in Vancouver on May 13th, which is the day of the GLF Kyoto. It will be hosting our event between 9 and 11 Pacific Standard Time, and we'll be putting together a panel from indigenous groups, academia, the private sector, and youth groups, and trying to get these different stakeholders to say what it means for them to translate the theory of landscape approaches to on-the-ground operationalization. And we're going to talk about issues of food security, going to be issues of biodiversity conservation, economic development, and we'll have a back and forth with both a live audience but also soliciting questions and input from an online audience as well. So we're very much looking forward to putting the meat on the bones of the skeleton of the landscape approach, and talking about some real life examples. We want to explore issues and situations where things have worked on the ground. We also want to look at where maybe things have not been quite successful. So things and opportunities to learn from implementation and the implementation particularly in the past. So join us on May 13th for the Global Landscapes Forum, either in person or online, and come to contribute and learn about the Global Landscapes experience and the movement behind it. See you there.
Mangroves are under threat. They've been under threat for more than 50 years, perhaps challenged most significantly in their millions and millions of years of presence on the earth, but now facing serious challenge through urbanization, water management, and most recently, sea level rise. It's beautiful and dense. My name is Dr. Randall Parkinson. I am a coastal geologist. Wetlands in general, and certainly mangroves in particular, provide a lot of very important functions to not only the ecosystem, but also to the economics of our coastal regions throughout the world. They are very important habitat for a lot of commercial and recreational species, threatened and endangered species. Mangrove forests and wetlands provide a buffer to storm surge and the energy associated with storms. They take that in so that areas behind them, perhaps urban, aren't bearing the brunt of that energy. They are taking CO2 out of the atmosphere and storing it below ground. They have a huge capacity to help us combat climate change. As sea level rises, under normal and natural conditions, wetlands would have moved mangroves into areas that used to be land, dry land. And as sea level rises, the dry land gets wetter, mangroves migrate into it. Everything just migrates landward in like a tank tread type fashion. Well, that can't occur in most areas anymore because we often have shore parallel roads which block the mangroves from migrating onshore. So with sea level rise, on top of the problems with urbanization, the ocean shoreline is moving inland. The mangroves would like to be moving more landward, but they can't. So they get pinched out. And then we lose them at that location forever. If these go, all the things that we talk about go. And then what are we left with? Not only do we lose this beautiful landscape, but we lose all the things that it does for us. It is an enormous challenge to try to protect this, and there are efforts to try to do that. I just hope that we're not too late.
Forests, source of air, water, shelter, medicine, of life itself. People have destroyed 80% of the world's forests. We are working diligently to defend those that remain. We are farmers and scientists, indigenous communities and governments, companies and citizens, working together in more than 85 countries. We are the Rainforest Alliance.
These are shallots. This is called pak choy. Here all natural, locally available stuff. These are chayus. And this is good for kidney stones. Celeries, some basils. We have some rosemary, chilies, thyme, potato, peppermint, smell and see. Every morning as I wake up, I make a wish for the day. Today is a good day. Today is a fine day. Today is an excellent day. I'll be healthier today, smart, sound and strong today. I'll be innovative today. My vision is to improve the productivity of existing agricultural lands whilst minimizing the damage to forests in every way. To do all that, we need to preserve the existing forest cover and improve the cover if possible. Being a part of Rainforest Alliance, I am not the only person who's doing this sort of work in this world.
Yo me llamo Amelia Quispe Macarco. Yo llegué ya a los 17 años. El tiempo no era como ahora. Nosotros mismos hemos contaminado, ¿no? Hemos quemado los bosques. Nosotros ahora estamos reforestando porque tenemos ese apoyo de Rainforest, de los que nos están dando ánimo, los que nos están incentivando a que no perdamos nuestros bosques.
My name is Jose Carrera. I am from a community in Petén, Guatemala. When I was a child, I cried because I saw how the rainforest and the wildlife was disappearing. So I took the decision to study to protect the forest. We work with the communities to show them that sustainable development is the best way to live here. We are working to make many small changes that add up to a big change.
Je me nomme Kofi Kwadjo Adrien. Donc dans mon champ, mes arbres que je plante, on ne coupe pas. Je plante les arbres pour protéger mes cacaoyers, pour protéger l'environnement, pour protéger le territoire, afin que la pluie vienne sur mes cacaos, afin que ça donne très bien.
Soy Juana Griselda Payaba Cachique. Ahí está nuestra cultura, nuestra costumbre, nuestra cosmovisión de este pueblo. El bosque es nuestro hábitat. Si yo le mato ese árbol y si tú matas a todo, ya no va a haber ese viento, ese aire puro que viene hacia nosotros. Estoy dejando algo que va a valer para otro, para mis nietos que están aquí y que coman rápido. Entonces eso yo veo y siempre me he preocupado en que las nuevas generaciones deben entender que esto es una maravilla y una cultura y una cosmovisión de los pueblos indígenas que tenemos hacia los bosques.
All human beings, although we have come out of forest for the last few centuries, whether you are in a concrete jungle even, we have that touch of nature. If we really look into nature for answers, you will have great success. Now I realize that there's a huge team behind me to push me forward. So because of that I am delighted actually. Today is a good day. Today is a fine day. Today is an excellent day.
Hello, Global Landscape Forum changemakers. My name is Felipe. I'm a 26-year-old nature-passionate Brazilian living in Amsterdam. My family has 60 years experience with large-scale organic citrus farming, so I always find myself passionate about sustainable agriculture. We all know monoculture, conventional agriculture has always fed us, and therefore it has its importance. But now it's time to change the way we produce our food and raw materials. More than billions of hectares worldwide has been deforested, and that depletion of resources is the root cause of our humanitarian and climate crisis. Our planet is asking for a sustainable way of managing our natural resources. Together with my business partner, Marco de Boer, we founded Renature, a Dutch foundation that has the goal to regenerate 1 million hectares of degraded land worldwide through agroforestry by 2030. We develop model farms and schools for businesses and industries that want to be part of this transition. Our goal is to develop portfolios for economically viable regenerative commodity production, not only for the food industry, but also for the fashion, aromatics, medicinal, and so on. Our ambition is to create a regenerative design where we, for example, combine cocoa production that goes into the food industry, shaded by the palm oil that goes to the aromatics industry. Cocoa needs shade, as palm oil needs a companion tree. The reason it's expected to have no chocolate in the future is because monoculture non-shaded cocoa. There's a scientific research that shows that agroforestry cocoa produces 3 times more than conventional. They both need each other in ecological and social terms, but also in economical terms. Regenerative agroforestry allows the economy to be in harmony with nature. The solutions are right here, right now, in front of us. We are ready to make regenerative agroforestry mainstream. Are you? Then join us. After this, you will watch a special video we made for you all. Stay tuned on our socials, Renature Foundation, and let's do this. Thanks, guys.
Our climate is changing. Nature is out of balance. How will we feed 9 billion people by 2050 while preserving our forest ecosystems? There is a new high-tech way of growing our food. Regenerative agroforestry. It mimics nature, regenerates soil, plants water, tackles climate change, and ensures food security.
A conventional monoculture cocoa farm produces an average 400 kilograms per hectare, while our regenerative agroforestry cocoa farm produces an average 1,200 kilograms. How incredible is that?
Renature unites organizations, research and map cultural, biological, and economical ecosystems, design, implement, and give management trainings. We create model farms for multiple niche markets, such as food, textile, aromatics, medicinal, timber, and rubber. Our mission is to restore 1 million hectares of degraded landscape worldwide by 2030. You wonder how? We bring young people from all over the world who visit farmers, learn from their experience, prepare the land, and plant. We exchange with universities, give presentations, visit local communities to hear their stories and inspire their children. We want regenerative agroforestry to go mainstream because we can change the way we produce. We want to create a new future for consumers and business. We want to get young people to action and plant a sustainable future for our coming generations.
Our mission
is to Renature.
Are you in?
Are you in? Are you in?
Are you in? Are you in?
Are you in?
I'm Neeraj from Bihar, representing Kheti organization. We are doing community development program through agroforestry system. We have implemented our first agroforestry model in Turdi, Bihar. As you can see, we have mangoes, we have moringa, we have chilies, we have papaya, we have banana, and each and every plant is supporting each other. And in this farm earlier we had grown wheat, which is very less, and we can count one of the plants. And this is our first agroforestry model, and as you can see, the nearby farms are full of wheat farm. Basically here farmers grow mainly rice and wheat. Here we are using rain hose pipe for irrigation purpose, where in this pipe there is a small hole, and through this hole only we irrigate, and we provide the natural fertilizers and pest control things through this rain hose pipe.
पहले हम धान और गेहूं की खेती कर रहे थे, उसमें जुताई कुड़ाई और खाद वगैरह देने के बाद कोई बचत नहीं आया। फिर मैं एक ट्रेनिंग के लिए चेन्नई गया, इसमें नीरज ने भेजा हमको। वहाँ जाकर थोड़ा ट्रेनिंग किया। ट्रेनिंग करने के बाद एक गांव आया। गांव आने के बाद नीरज ने अपने खेतों में प्राकृतिक खेती शुरू किया। मैं उसमें काम करता हूँ। मुझे ये खेती देखकर बहुत अच्छा लगा। और ये प्राकृतिक खेती ऐसी है जो बिना लागत के सब कुछ उगा सकता है। एक साथ बोले तो 20 आइटम हो सकता है। इसके लिए खाद नहीं चाहिए। इसे गाछ के पत्ता, ताड़ के पत्ते, गाय के गोबर, गाय के मूत्र, ये सब खाद बनाने के लिए है।
When we implemented our farm, so after seeing our farm, few of the farmers, those who have started multi-cropping, not agroforestry system, but they have started with multi-cropping vegetables like ladyfinger, okra, then pumpkin. So this small initiative had bring change around the farmers. There is one plot and there is another one plot, and as you can compare, you can see the full greenery with butterflies and birds, lots of birds all the time, and you can see the other surrounding of our farm, which is totally monoculture with no trees, nothing.
Climate change has had and continues to have a serious impact on us in the Caribbean region. As an environmental steward, I'm involved in several things. I'm a member of the Caribbean Youth Environment Network, which is an NGO that focuses on creating environmental awareness across the Caribbean. I also work to protect critically endangered species like the endemic Barbados leaf-toed gecko. And I work for the International Union for Conservation of Nature on the Biopalma program. I was also a participant at the Global Landscapes Forum in Bonn, Germany in 2018. My name is Justin Springer, and I'm a Barbadian ecologist who's always been passionate about the environment and conserving biodiversity. I've been fortunate to live and work in several Caribbean countries. And through these experiences, I understand that we face similar environmental challenges. One of these challenges is a high exposure to natural disasters. The Caribbean region is often the first point of contact for hurricanes that form in the Atlantic Ocean. In 2017, we saw one of the most intense hurricane seasons on record, where two major hurricanes caused significant damage across the region, Hurricanes Irma and Maria. I was in St. Kitts at the time when Hurricane Irma and Maria passed. Where I lived on Frigate Bay, there were coconut trees everywhere across the golf course. Buildings were damaged, roofs were off. As we drove through the Independence Square, there were massive trees that were uprooted. Just across the sea, in Barbuda, 90% of the buildings were destroyed, and Dominica experienced major losses. And I knew people who lost a lot. And I had a friend there. That's when it really hit home for me, because I wanted to go over there, but I couldn't. Climate change and its impacts are a reality for us in the Caribbean. This experience for me showed the fragility of human life in the face of natural disturbance. It made me appreciate life in a deeper way. And it also showed me that we as Caribbean people are strong and resilient, because that's not the end of the story. Right now, in the Caribbean, we're making a comeback. The Caribbean islands are committed to being the first climate change resilient region in the world. Significant funding is being injected into helping countries build back better and stronger. All across the region, we're looking at other ways how we can adapt. One method is ecosystem-based adaptation, where people are looking towards natural ecosystems like mangroves and coral reefs, which act as buffers around our coastlines. All across the region, we realize that these ecosystems are not just important for livelihoods, but they're important for our protection.
Sea level is rising and will continue to rise for decades, perhaps longer.
I'm working with Indonesian scientists and students from here at Davis on restoring seagrass beds. Seagrass is a marine plant. It flowers like land plants do, and it's really important for people. Seagrass forms extensive meadows in shallow waters, and seagrass has roots that go deep into the sediment, and those roots basically anchor the sediment. Seagrass acts as a living shoreline because it stabilizes the coastline and protects the shore from storm damage. Another important function of seagrass is it provides the habitat and food for a lot of other organisms, including fish and clams and shrimp, and also endangered species like seahorses and sea turtles, manatees, dugongs, and even sharks. Indonesians depend on seagrasses and fish for the majority of their protein. So our project is to develop methods to restore or rehabilitate seagrass beds that have been damaged. And we found that by replanting the seagrass, we can lead to its rehabilitation, if not completely restoring the ecosystem. Our project involves a collaboration with about 20 Indonesian students each year and about 20 students from the University of California at Davis. We've been working together for about 5 years. Seagrass is really important because it captures carbon from the ocean and it stores that carbon in the sediment, and that means the carbon gets locked away. We think that this is one of the most important roles for seagrass these days. As the climate is changing, the oceans are warming. I think the most important part of our collaboration is not just learning to do good experiments, but having students, young students, work together across cultural, language, national differences. So Indonesians and Americans are working together to restore a really important habitat. By training young students to work together globally, there'll be a multiplier effect. These tiny steps will just go like a ripple on the ocean and spread globally. It's these small efforts and these collaborations that multiply across the globe that are all that's necessary to help us start dealing with climate change.
以前的我的羊200多只，现在是700多。我以前的生活是我们这个地方是没电没路，原来的生活来了也，反正我们这个地方的原来一直样的生活是不是那么个地道的，反正中等生活。现在的树比原来多，种的多。
就是这啥地根本没有这种树。那么经过这个他们这个科学方面呢，就发展的那搞啥点能长起树来。现在是不在这个低处起来树，高处也能栽上树。那么也有了树，也有了植被，它这个沙呢，高处又下刮，它再刮不起来，因此它沙气就越来越低，越来越低。
我在这儿来这打工，像你来这儿从4月份来这儿，就养护干草，就是就浇水、拔草，这是一个扶贫给的干草，这是扶贫户。原来在家里边种地是没有收入，我是扶贫户。这些异地来了，再给我放一片干草，叫我养护这片干草，一年吧差不多弄个3万来块钱吧，也得弄个。这生活是稳定了。我的儿子啊，在东上那边哪个煤矿我也不知道，煤矿里边下煤窑，赶紧挖煤。他来这边工作的话，他没有危险。那会儿吧，就是就从头上煤去吧，没有地里边每年赔钱，种了你连化肥钱都回不来，种地钱回不来，每年赔钱。这雇过车来，雇过上来，这收场也不好，这就不行。来这边这最起码生活是稳定住了。叫你下来还能有点存款吧。
At first, when we came here, there was a lot of forest here, and we cleared almost everything.
People will always continue to cut trees. They will continue to use charcoal, but there must be a way out.
Hello and welcome to the Global Landscapes Forum, Kyoto Digital Edition. My name is Kofi Deborah and I'm excited to be part of this important global discussion. My organization, Oko Forests, works with smallholder farmers to develop agroforestry systems in Ghana, West Africa. I'm also extremely proud to be part of the Consortium for Restorative Economy Development. We understand a lot of issues such as deforestation and bad agricultural practices are driven by poverty.
Listen to my story.
At the current rate we're losing forest cover, bamboo is the fastest intervention to regreen our landscapes.
We need to get the resource material right. We need to bring in different species and plant on large scale and manage them scientifically.
When the soil becomes very poor, nothing they can grow into the soil. So we are trying to educate the farmers, let them know that if you grow bamboo along the farm, you can get some nutrients by falling off bamboo leaves. And then more to the point, we can even sell part of the bamboo to reduce the poverty.
There's a need for biomass, and the one that will catch will be one that has got market value. If people see that if we grow bamboo, we can easily cut it and sell somewhere and make a lot of money, then they are interested.
BIDG was to look at how bamboo can be grown so that the farmers who will be working with us will be able to grow other cash crops with the bamboo.
So the potential is there, but the farmers need to know the right varieties that are used. Already they are producing a lot of cassava, but the emphasis is now moving towards processing, because that is where the greater potential lies. Farmers, processors, researchers, each actor is doing his own work in his own small corner. There should be proper coordination.
Ghana has a lot of landscape to restore, but we can only do that through bamboo agroforestry because of the multiple uses bamboo gives to communities. Local economic development, greening the landscape, and alleviating poverty.
Therefore, we hope that a lot of attention in terms of policy-wise and in terms of support from donor agencies
will be given to bamboo, and I'm sure bamboo could make a tremendous impact in the socio-economic development of Ghana, improving our GDP and ensuring that people's livelihood and people's poverty can be reduced through bamboo production or bamboo establishment in Ghana.
The time to act is now, not later, but now.
I fell deep in love with Ama François.
The Sahel region on the southern border of the Sahara Desert is on the front line of climate change. Global warming and over-farming are destroying healthy land, threatening the lives of millions of people. But we're fighting back with one of the most ambitious projects of our time. We're growing a line of trees and plants that will bring life back to the land and transform people's lives. We're growing food for the millions who go hungry every day. Growing a reason to stay for the families forced to migrate to Europe. Growing green jobs, giving real incomes and opportunities. Growing peace in places where conflict is widespread. Growing a response to climate change where temperatures are rising faster than anywhere else on Earth. We're growing an 8,000-kilometer green wall across the entire width of Africa. A symbol of hope that humanity can overcome its greatest threats. We're growing a world wonder. The Great Green Wall.
In India, 40% of population lives below poverty line. These people live on 30 to 60 million hectares of land, which are unfortunately called wastelands, as if land can never be waste. People depend on this for food, for firewood, for medicine, for their very survival. These lands, unfortunately, have not been governed well. People have a common perception that greenery is good, but brown lands are not productive. They are the backbone of the livestock economy, but because of the perception that this is waste, these are converted into biofuels, changed into irrigated agriculture. So there's a constant pressure around these wastelands to make them productive. But we all know rural folks have centuries of rural wisdom in managing these resources. So what we are trying is to restore the faith of our governments in the ability of village people to manage their own land. We transfer the ownership of land back into the villages as common property to restore these degraded ecosystems. That's the crux of our work. Villages live as a collective social fabric. They have a lot of faith amongst each other. So we borrow these principles of collaboration into our work life. Together, the way we have been able to make a difference is join the dots between government officials and the local level people by building collaborations, by making our interest their vocabulary. Another important dimension of our work is technology and data. Technology has been a big help for us. This is an important scaling up strategy because with the mobile devices that almost everyone has now, we are able to reach almost across India. So a combination of technology and using good data, we are able to bring in informed decision making at the village level. so far. We have been able to do 2 million hectares. What we are aiming for in the next 5 years is make it 10 million hectares. Somewhere we will have to reposition village people as equal citizens in the country, as if they are their determinants of their own life. If you come with me to a village, you'll see village people sitting together. They have meetings where they are discussing, debating, disagreeing on issues. This is the fundamental governance issue. You'll see villages improving their soil, nutrients, water. You'll see the first showers coming in and ephemerals and butterflies and bees coming in. You would see this all flourish. When I see village people smiling and saying that her crop was better, all this gives phenomenal hope. That's the magic, allowing nature to heal.
What we've done here is different to conservation principles elsewhere.
The idea behind this project is now becoming well known as rewilding. The idea is you allow these natural processes as far as possible to happen.
Instead of conserving with specific species in mind, where you're focusing on keeping a habitat, locking it down as it is, so that preserves the numbers of a certain species. What we've done here is just taken our hands off the steering wheel and just stood back and let nature take over.
And of course you then get wonderful things happening.
We've got nightingales, turtle doves.
Barbastelle bat, probably Europe's rarest mammal, is starting to fly over this site.
In one cow pat alone, a student found 26 different species of beetle.
In a single morning we counted last year 87 male purple emperors, and that's exceptional for anywhere really.
All 5 owl species here.
A much more hands-off approach actually does deliver you the conservation benefits that you may predict, but also conservation benefits that you wouldn't have dreamed of.
What we're learning here, I think, is a future for conservation in the UK.
Hello to the Global Landscapes Forum. It's amazing that this very old land has got so many stories that humanity can take advantage of. We can manage climate recovery, and there is a plan in this landscape that shows us that at any scale that can be achieved. The sky's the limit. My name is Peter Andrews. I've been involved in identifying how this landscape has worked for pretty well all my life. And I can guarantee today that the Australian land managers could lead the world if we understood what this landscape has to offer. I'm convinced that that's the case. I've gone around and built as many examples as I possibly can. So we're talking absolutely the blueprint this landscape contains. Australia is the comeback king from desertification. It's the oldest, the flattest, and has the least amount of natural water system. It doesn't have a lake in the centre or anything like that. And so everything about it would suggest that it should have been a desert, and of course it was. But the plants showed how it could be recovered, and we had megafauna on this land with no real beneficial climate backup. And so there is a story written in the landscape, no question. We've drained 94% of our wetlands. Then when we conduct agriculture, we create deserts of land, large areas of land. So it's necessary we do something to at least get that function back. The Australian wetlands always had water slowly moving, and it was described as a stepped diffusion system of broadacre hydroponics by a very good scientist. Fundamentally, it's managing water, filtering the losses that would normally occur, and returning them to the high point so that gravity and the sun can manage it all again. And one of the models we have shows that agriculture can be a fully functioning wetland if you design it correctly and follow the rules we've just been talking about. Reading the landscape is not much different than reading a book. You have to know the language, and then of course it's quite easy in my opinion, but I believe it is so critically important that we identify what this landscape can tell us and teach people how they can take advantage of those bits of information. For those good souls, well-meaning, desperately trying to do something with the climate, what we've got now is the evidence of how it was, the evidence of what's gone wrong, and in many cases, the solutions.
Hello and welcome to the Global Landscape Forum. My name is Kamau and I'm part of WOLF, which is the Wageningen University Youth in Landscape Forum, and we are based right here in Wageningen.
We are a diverse group of passionate young students from the Wageningen University and research in the Netherlands.
Our aim is to show you the newest innovations and research that are being created right here in Wageningen University.
What we want to do is bringing young critical thinkers from the international Wageningen bubble to the global landscape community.
The Wageningen bubble is full of cutting-edge research and is a breeding ground for scientifically based innovation and solutions that have practical and societal implications. We know this is where it happens and we want to share it. As youth, we dare to question and we are willing to overcome the hurdles for transforming scientific development, policies and business as usual, as well as our daily activities. We want to showcase youth-led initiatives from our own backyards, which show how youth are already making a change and inspire action in climate movements, in cross-sectoral and intergenerational collaboration, in the domains of research, as well as practical-based solutions to climate change.
For JLF Kyoto, we are kickstarting our partner event with a panel discussion with youth leaders in climate activism, climate research and practice. This panel is critically informed by a series of workshops that took place yesterday.
Altogether, at this panel discussion, we hope to answer the following questions.
What is climate smart knowledge? Who is climate smart and who's not? How do we create climate smart knowledge? And what is the role of the youth in this?
To do this, we are looking at the role of gender and local and indigenous knowledge in climate action, the relevance of agroecological movements in Europe, and alternative and innovative research methods, as well as what scientific principles can we use to inspire solutions and instigate courageous action for climate adaptation and mitigation.
Now, where does the youth fit in? What do you think?
You want to know? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
So stay tuned and follow up.